Hey everyone, Nettie Owens here with Sapari Solutions, and we're continuing our conversation of what businesses need to know right now. Today I have with me Rebecca Klein-Scott and Keith Scott of Tall Small, and let me just tell you a little bit about what they do. First of all, I have to read what's on their LinkedIn profile because it's just perfect. So Tall Small perseveres like a pit bull on your pants leg. That's coming from one of their clients. But if you don't get what they do from that, they use improv style to coach people to harness strong vocabulary and drop filler words that clog the message. And certainly that statement was crystal clear. Tweak body language to a more confident and engaging style and diffuse conflicts. So welcome. I'm so glad you're here.
Great to be here.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
It's a mutual admiration club here. So we're going to jump in about communication. And my number one question here is, what's the one thing people can do to improve their communication, to be crystal clear?
Number one thing is to stop approaching people and introducing yourself as though you are a walking, talking business card. People all of a sudden turn into these robotic versions of themselves and say their name, how long they've been doing it, and their title, and you don't get to meet a person.
Right.
And getting rid of all the filler. One of the biggest problems people have is all the like, and all the weak phrases, the actuallys that I would say. The reason that this is a problem is because people become weak. And when you become weak, others can take advantage of you. And to have true leadership, you must be strong in your language, strong in your body language, and strong in your tone. But many people don't realize the weakness they're showing every day.
Yeah, I really wouldn't have necessarily equated the ums and likes as weakness, but as you say that, I can think back on conversations where I haven't perhaps thought as well of a person because their language didn't necessarily align with what they were saying they did or who they are. So that's a really great perspective. And I just said, I'm going to be super self-conscious about that.
We don't bite the hand that feeds us. We will not point the mouth for you. But if you were, we would bang on the table to make those filler words rise up to the surface, because a lot of us don't even realize we're saying them.
Well, and I think, as you were saying that, I don't have time in a 10-minute conversation to have filler words. There's important things to say. So what a great perspective, and probably something people aren't necessarily thinking about. So as you are pivoting, really, just moving this conversation to a virtual world, we're all on Zoom, we're on phone calls, we're on other video conferencing, and some people are having a difficult time, or even people who weren't having a difficult time, just the level of virtual interactions has increased so much. What do we need to know to make this transition or to make it easier?
Number one thing is schedule breaks. A lot of people book the Zoom calls back to back to back, and it requires a lot more mental energy to stare at a screen. We're not used to having to look at ourselves all day either. That can be awkward. You can take a Post-it note and put it over your own face so you don't keep looking at yourself. But taking that break between Zoom calls is critical.
Also, making sure you have a break at the end of the day where you leave wherever you are living, walk out the door and go somewhere else. I don't care where it is, because you can get trapped into 12, 14, 16-hour days and lose it after a while. Rebecca and I, at a certain time at the end of the day, we both go our separate ways and take walks. You've got to make that commitment, drop everything, because it's highly addictive, because you can stay in that same place and then you really lose your efficiency over time.
And Keith is a lot better at that than I am. He'll come to me and he'll say, time to close the computer, go. I need that.
My husband does the same thing. It must be a guy thing. But you're speaking my language. It's talking about you're talking about communication, but this is a productivity issue too. And as you said, an efficiency issue. So I'm imagining you communicate well when you feel well, and when you are at your highest level of energy, you can really tap into those mental resources to have important conversations. So great reminder, get up, move. I'm imagining you guys walking out the door and just like one taking a right and one taking a left. And
that's pretty much
Yes.
That's great. Do you take the kids with you? Or is this just total alone?
It is us.
It is us. We will firmly believe in the airline safety policy that you put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and then, because if you don't go out and clear your mind, you are going to be a horrible parent. And you are just going to say the worst things to your kids because you'll be grumpy. So we have to look out for ourselves so we can look out for everyone else.
Absolutely. And I think that this idea of self-care has really bubbled to the surface with the quarantine, the lockdown. It's interesting. I hear my husband speak from just sharing what his supervisors are saying. People aren't taking breaks. They're not taking vacation time. They're just working constantly because they can. How does that impact your communication? What are you seeing?
People then end up putting the worst part of themselves out there. People need to take breaks. And we agree, this is a big problem. We're getting more calls to teach work-life balance courses than we ever have before because of this.
And people, frankly, they look grumpy. When we get on a session with 30, 40 people, we were in person, and they just look just tired and disgusted and bored. I mean, it's sad to watch this, and I truly believe it's video fatigue. They're not the same people that we remember seeing in person.
Right. Well, it's hard necessarily to feel that energy that you get, that give and take when you're in the room with a person. I think there are ways to recreate it. Have you found anything to be effective?
The biggest thing is forgetting about the screen. Stop thinking about it. And a lot of people get on a Zoom call and they'll apologize and say, oh, I wish we could do this in person. If we were in person, it would be like this. And the more we say that, it makes everybody feel as though this is second best.
Keep people involved as old school as you did in grammar school, and that is calling a heck of a lot of people for answers. And make sure if anybody, and what's really easy to do on a screen is you can notice someone that's staring off or maybe not paying attention, whatever, and call on them, ask them to ask somebody else a question. But you've got to be like an orchestra leader, paying attention to all your instruments. Because if one go out of tune, the one next to it starts to go out of tune, and it's a snowball effect.
It's contagious. We also never use a PowerPoint. We start the presentation standing up so that people feel as though we're on a stage, and it helps make people feel as though it's the same as going to an in-person workshop. And then we change it up and we might get the stools out, but we're constantly in motion ourselves. We have different people stand up and do things, and it helps keep people energized.
Also, not being afraid, like in a regular meeting, people get up, get coffee, get a cookie, go to the bathroom. But we're on Zoom, we think we're glued to the seat, like we can't leave. But you can leave. You've got to treat it as normal as it was before. You just happen to be on a video.
I love that perspective. Just treat it
out right now.
No, do you need to take a bio break?
Walking time.
I wasn't sure if that was implying something. So you've talked a lot about body language that you can be observant of in videos. How I've seen people kind of glaze over. They're still staring at the screen. They're glazed over because they're checking their email. They're still working on the computer. You can see they're not actually looking at the presentation. And you've talked about some ways to re-engage people. What are some other things that we need to be aware of with body language? Maybe for ourselves, not to look for in other people.
We'll give you an assignment. Go ahead and rub your chin for a moment. We look like the chin rubbers.
Sounds like a call. That's what it sounds like. We're on a call.
When you rub your chin, you're lowering your heart rate.
Oh.
We need to lower our heart rates when we feel anxious, hesitant, not sure of something. And a lot of people ignore when they're talking to someone. Let's say we asked you for a raise. And you say, sure, I can do that. And if we ignored that, you call us the next day and say it's not possible.
And the key is watching that body language, because it's 70% of everything we communicate. It's back when we're in person and someone walks in the door the first time, we make that impression, as we all know, that stays with us forever. It's the same on video calls, but a lot of people think, well, it's a video call, what the heck? Another thing we noticed with body language, and this is key for people holding meetings, watch what kind of chair people are sitting in. And this sounds stupid, but if you see somebody sitting in a lazy boy and they're in the meeting
with their feet up and to the bottom,
they are not going to pay attention for very long, right? Or we've even suggested maybe get another chair. It's not the best way to learn. But really pay attention to the room. See how people are chilling out. Because some people take it too literally.
Good point. Well, if folks want to reach out, follow the link below and learn more about communication and about ways to use it to your business's best advantage. Thank you so much.
Thank you.